Good evening, Dennis. Nothing, I'm on it. I'm here. Okay, I assume my mic is working. You can hear me?
Yep. I noticed the forum has been pretty busy the last couple of days.
Yeah, there's a few things going on. It's nothing too terribly critical, but yeah, there some things are happening. So how are you doing?
Oh, pretty good. I've been working on um, trying to understand signal mask logic. I got a toughie one I'm working on for a beginner.
Yeah, I've kind of glanced at him, but I really haven't done anything with them.
I don't we have any gurus that can maybe help me out or explain a few things.
Oh, yeah, yeah, Ken knows quite a bit about it. I'm trying to think of his last name.
Yeah, I've been having problems with JMRI is um, 5.8 is got some little glitches in it. And it really frustrates me that they keeps going on. I gotta actually save my files and all that, exit JMRI and come back in again, and then the things that disappear are okay now. Really hard to um, right now trying to repeat what I do to make it work. So I can't really tell anybody on the JMRI forum what's going on. It just um, if I remove something from block signal or I'm redefining it, some of the logic goes away of my turnouts or the signal masks. Information disappears on the tables. But if I just save it out, exit JMRI, come back in, they reappear again.
Yeah, that does sound rather strange. And if you can't reproduce things, that makes it even harder to figure out
Right.
what's going on.
Yeah, that's so I'm trying to predict when it's going to do it, so so I can post out there what's going on. Well, I really enjoyed that meeting we had last month. You sure gave me a lot of good information on cats.
Okay, good. That's why we do this, is try to be helpful.
Unfortunately, I'm stuck. I got to get the logic down before I can get use cats to start building a panel on that.
Well, what are you planning? What's the big picture for what you're planning to do? Because you don't need signal logic or mass logic with cats.
Okay, explain that to me a little more then. Maybe I'm missing something.
Okay, let me paraphrase that a little bit. Are you using LCC? What's your hardware connection mechanism?
Just LocoNet.
Okay. Well, CATS has built into it all the stuff that signal logic, simple signal logic, and signal mass logic do.
Okay, can I show you what I'm talking about?
Well, unfortunately, I don't think we've got sharing involved.
Oh, okay.
Screen sharing. I think that's got to be turned on at every session.
Let me see here. Nope, host is not sharing. I was hoping somebody could take a look at it and maybe has a little more insight in what I'm trying to do right now. And the club decided to put cats on hold so they could get the signals up and running on it. And do they really need to do that? Do I have to build all that in JMRI, or can I build that all in cats and make it an easier job instead of doing double duty?
Yeah, well, assuming your signals follow the standard um, um, signal progressions and things like that, you don't need to touch SML or SSL. Um, I've got several, I know of multiple layouts, and none of them have any SSL or SML in them.
Huh.
So the whole idea behind cats is you draw it, and then cats figures out which turnouts affect which signal heads and who's in who, what the order of progressions are and stuff like that. And so you just put in decoder. Basically, you draw your track diagram, and then you put in decoder addresses, and then CATS has all the signaling logic built into it.
Okay, that's the problem. Some of the problem I'm having right now is is working at the signal heads we need to put on it, the layout. And I'm not familiar with the Norfolk Southern, signal head procedures, in what he's trying to do. I think he's trying to make a dispatcher panel using JMRI.
Mhm.
And we're trying to reduce the amount of signals that we have to put on the layout itself. And the big thing is we got several crossovers. And
That,
so it's you can have a bunch of up to 10 signal heads on a crossover.
okay,
Okay.
well, the way CATS works is like, again, like I said, you draw your track diagram and you put the signals where you want them, and CATS will then create the signal heads, and from the signal heads, it'll create the signal mass.
Yeah.
And you can look at um, the easiest way to see what's going on is to grab let's see, I think the file that's there's an example XML file panel that's in the CATS distribution. And thing to do, the easiest, and the file, if I remember right, doesn't require any connectivity to the layout because it uses all internal sensors and internal turnouts. So consequently, what you can do is fire up CATS, load that panel, and then look at your signal head table and your signal mass table in JMRI, and you'll see
Yeah.
that CATS creates it.
Yeah. Well, that's the big thing is building that table on what the amount of uh, signal mass we need to put on here. And we're trying to do some consolidating, and that's the problem that I'm getting lost on the number of signal mass we really need. I'm probably not explaining it very clearly.
Yeah, I was gonna say, because that the number of masts you need is a function of your layout. You know, it's how many tracks you have and turnouts and control points and things like that.
Yeah. Well, I wish we had share capability here. I could show you what I'm trying to do, but
Yeah. Well, let me say it beforehand, given that you're on a consolidation move, one of the things, the worst mistakes you can make is to uh, not put control points in their own blocks. And I say that because um, that's what's needed to get all the signaling stuff to work right. And it's really tempting to say, okay, I've got, for example, I've got a control point that's sitting at a passing siding, and by rights that should be like 4 blocks. The approach to the control point itself, and the siding and the main. And it's easy to say, well, I'm just going to combine a few. And if you do that, then you'll find that things don't work very well.
what do you mean a control point?
Control point. Okay. A control point in the model, okay, in the railroad world, a control point is a signal under direct control of the dispatcher. In other
Yeah,
words, that's what appears on the dispatcher panel.
correct.
Um,
Okay.
and typically a control point then, not always, but a control point typically protects a turnout that is, for example, the turnout to go into or exit a passing siding, or an interlocking, or something like that. So it's that's, and I think there are other names for control point, but that's basically the definition of control point.
Okay. So I understand the dispatcher has control of the turnouts. So that's really your control points then. And you're actually then in CATS, you're allocating the number of blocks that anybody can move a train then, right?
Yes. And the number of blocks basically, and again, this is the way the prototype works. If you set a route through a block, and you do that by clicking on a signal, then that route in CATS, it follows the tracks until it finds the next signal in the same direction of traffic. So
Yeah.
that could be a single block, it could be multiple blocks. It all depends upon where you place your signals.
Okay. Well, I have to mull that over a little bit.
Have you seen any of the herding cats videos?
I have, and it's slowly starting to sink in. And I'm kind of slow sometimes and catching on to things, but I'll get that aha moment,
Mm-hmm.
and then I'm good to go at that point.
Okay, because there's one on, okay, there's one on building a panel with cats, and I think it's like herding cats 106 or something like that. And that talks about um, how you create signals and where to place them, and I'm sorry, that talks about how to build, yeah, how to build signals with cats, and it also shows then how to use cats to set a route. There's another one, and I don't remember the number on it. It's like maybe 104 or something, that talks about signals themselves. Um, and that talks about what's a control point and an interlocking, and so forth.
Okay.
Okay, I'm looking what's in the distribution of the CATS distribution, and there are 2 files. There's Armstrong full.xml and Armstrong magnet.xml. And it's the same layout. It's just that one has absolutely no connection to a layout, and the other one has has the a connection defined using, I think it's internal sensors or internal turnouts or something. But
Yeah.
the thing to do is if you have cats running, load it, fire it up, and then load into it under the file open one of those two Armstrong files. And you'll see then at, okay, before you do that, look at your JAMRI signal. You can look at the signal head table, you can look at the signal mask table, and they're going to be empty. After you load one of those panels, you will find that the signal head and the signal mask tables are populated. And that's
Okay.
because cats created those the signal masks and the signal heads.
That's imported right into JMRI then, right?
Excuse me, that's what?
Imported directly into JMRI.
Yeah, I guess you could say, I wouldn't use the term imported, but yeah, that's basically what happens is cats tells JMRI, I need to create a signal head and here's the information on it, just
Yeah.
as though you were into the table itself and clicked on add. That's what cats is doing, the same thing as if you clicked on add in, for example, the signal head table.
Okay.
Does that make sense?
Yeah, it's starting to. Yeah. That is in the download. It is not already in cats. That's where the files are.
It's in the what?
The Armstrong files. They're in that cats download, right?
Yeah, that's right. You get a zip file and they're in that zip file.
Okay. I'll take a look at it here real quickly.
Yeah, because that's the easiest way to get started with something. Then and those are fully functional. So I mean, you can play with them and set routes and clear routes and move trains around and all that kind of stuff.
Yeah. Okay.
It's just the only
Well,
thing. The thing is, they don't actually listen to any layout hardware. So uh, for some of it, then you've got to go into, for example, if you want to occupy a block somewhere, you can do it either by a right click on the track and then set occupy block, or you can go to the a block detector that's defined for that block in the JMRI sensor table, and change it that way, just so you
yeah.
can fake the hardware.
Okay. Well, let me take a look at it real quick here and see if I have any more questions to ask you.
Okay,
I'll have Ray come in if he wants.
okay. Hey Ray, how you doing? Okay, Ray, I see your chat message. You do you have volume or no audio today? Okay, Ray, I see your video. Not hearing you. See if you're check your audio. Okay, Ray, I'm starting to hear something now.
Rodney, I've been doing computers since I was 14 years old, and this is the first time I've had a problem. Every time I fired up Zoom, it worked. Not this
Okay.
time. That was funny. I'm sorry. You hear me okay now?
Yep, hear you loud and clear.
I'm sorry. Uh, uh, there's a stupid setting that somebody said, "Oh, let's change the software," and therefore, yeah, I'm having fun trying to go between two things. And my wife says, "Well, what? You got a question for George?" And I said, "Yeah, I actually do."
Okay.
So I need to somehow go over there and write in their chat, but I don't need that volume blaring on me. Yep, there it is. Oh, I can do this. There we go. You still there, Rodney?
Sure am.
Okay. Sorry, got you. I got you, George, talking. Yeah, what it is that I'm upgrading some of my trains. I have an old Athearn Blue Box, Chicago Northwestern. I don't even know if you can see this because I'm not looking at the camera. There we go. Old Athearn Blue Box, Chicago Northwestern, um, CNN AC 4400, right?
Mhm.
And I do have newer AC 4400s. Three of them are up in the shelf behind me. That when I talked to Soundtracks, they said, just pop the Athearn out and drop in ours and solder right up to it and add the speaker and you'll be fine. And I am. But now I have an Athearn Blue Box
Mm-hmm.
in pieces.
Well, like they say, you can't make an omelet without breaking eggs.
Right. And I I ordered one and pulled the other three Athearn generic cards, the LED cards, right?
Mm-hmm.
So I say, okay, well, Soundtrack's upgraded their card from one version to another. I think it was to increase outputs. I I think I got one of the original and then two upgrades. So that gave me the three, and those engines are all done. But now they offer the 22 pin it with sound. So my question is, do I want to do a whole board? Which is better, do a whole board, which will have the chip on it, or do an Athearn and then drop the 22 pin on it?
Mm-hmm.
And I guess it becomes a personal choice more so than what's the right way. I've got, and you ready for this one? They're both the same price.
Mm-hmm. Well, the answer to that question is maybe, because my brother found out the hard way that the motherboard kind of has to match the chip because there are like 3 different standards for the 22-pin chip.
No way. Because I
So,
ordered like a Chinese 22 pin, and I found out it's only got 4 function, and that's not going to do me. In fact, I need to pull it and get a 8 function in there or something like that. And I'm going to change it over to sound. But you throw that out there. This is the thing about all these guys is you think you've got things done right, and there's a curve thrown at you.
yeah,
And oh, whoops, that relates to cats
okay.
and JMRI. I was reading some of the emails. Gee, does it work with new 5.8? I'm still on 5.6. Why would I upgrade?
Hmm.
It works. Stop. I'm having enough problems with the DCCX. They say, oh, upgrade to the version 5. All right, so I upgraded to 509. It does not communicate Wi-Fi off these boards. So I had to go back to 4.6.7 or something like that, the one before 5.
Hmm.
And oh yeah, by the way, the Wi-Fi came back. And then I upgraded to 5.0, and one unit, the Wi-Fi doesn't want to stay locked in on the phone, and then the other unit, it stays locked in. And so, what's the difference between these two? I'm using Arduino Mega with Wi-Fi built in Chinese units. And I'm going, really? There has to be a difference. What's worse is that I'm one of the Chinese units is like a American made, I thought, and that's the key, and it's a yellow and black board. I got it back here. See if I can not make a mess. Keys or keys or Key Studio. I don't know how well you can see that. It's the yellow and black one.
Okay.
And that one seems to lock in and stay pretty consistent. But again, my whole gig on the DCCX was I didn't want a stack of boards. I wanted to keep it small and simple for a command station. So that's why I went with a Mega with Wi-Fi, so I didn't have to add the Wi-Fi board and play around with tons of jumpers.
Yep.
But yeah, when they started saying, "Oh, but I did the upgrade to 5.8, and it seems everything works, but I did the copying like you're supposed to copy." So yeah, right now I'm still under 5.6, and I'm going, okay, is there anything telling me that I must or should or need to upgrade at this point? When I'm only using it for Decoder Pro, really? Even though I've loaded my dad's layout in it.
Well, if you're only using Decoder Pro, that may be the reason because some of the newer decoders don't have the definitions in 5.6, and they sometimes have to change the format of the XML file to get newer definitions, and so they are not backwards compatible. So it all depends if you're using what decoders you're using.
Right now, it's just some older ones, as best I can tell, off of eBay or off of these units that already have them built in. They seem to be older, like Digitrax units and stuff.
You
The newest I'm getting into is the soundtrack stuff.
you may be okay because the decoder definitions um, are not created by the decoder vendor. Rather, it's volunteers, and there could be an old decoder floating around that nobody has ever written the definitions for, and they then add it to the latest version of JMRI. So you don't know. You'd have to, like I say, you got to check and make sure that
So yeah, if I run into that, I run into it, then I have to upgrade.
yeah, right,
Makes total sense.
exactly.
And then I deal with upgrading CAT's files if I've got many or any,
Mm,
which right now I don't have any. So whether I upgrade JMRI right now or not, that doesn't, it's not going to affect me, I think.
yeah, right. And even then, the cats hasn't changed in a while, or neither have the files that cats uses
Right.
directly. So that hasn't been a problem so far.
All right. Well, that's good to know. Um, I'm figured out I'm going to do a shelf layout here in my little room office and use French cleats to mount it on my wall.
Hmm.
And and that's going to be my cat's test before I run my dad's layout, or I may end up with my dad's layout and doing both.
Hmm.
But on the, it's just a single main line to a yard spur area, so it's not like it's going to really task cats in that aspect. But whereas my dad's layout will, because it's going to be upwards of probably 3 trains, not 4, running.
Yeah, but at the same time, I mean, even a small layout is good as a learning tool. Yeah,
Yeah, yeah, yeah,
you
yeah,
climb,
yeah, yeah.
yeah, you climb the curve.
Right. Define the curve and then go to it. Right. It was bad enough just to learn how to get Panel Pro to work in camera.
Yep.
How many times did I have to redo that panel? I still don't like it. Some of the definitions, but I got it done. I mean, that's the other one. So anyway, good to hear from you.
Yep.
I got to go find out what George is up to. That's a great piece of information. Is that I should probably go to the PC board instead of the 21 pin plug-in.
Yeah. If the vendor says it works in that version of your blue box or whatever, then yeah, I would tend to go that. Um,
Mm-hmm. Because otherwise, I got 4 LED ones that need 22 pin things, and I'm a I've got a GP15 that has a beacon, and the 20 I found out that the 21 pin didn't access the beacon because the beacon was over like on F5,
mhm.
and so I moved it to F3 after blowing up the LED.
Ooh,
Uh, yeah, well, and also buying new beacon heads that I didn't have to buy. I find out too because I didn't know how Athearn put them all together. So after I tore apart the model finally and found out how it was all put together, I just dropped in an LED for the time being, a really small one. I I know Athearn makes or at least has it on their website as a replacement part for a small little piece that goes inside the beacon. But I threw it over on like F3, and I thought I did the testing here with DCC, and it beaconed up. But when I put it on our track in the club layout, I couldn't get that beacon to turn on for the life of me. I just ignored it and ran the engine for the time being to get through the 4 hour display. But it's still in the box when it came back home over the weekend, and I haven't even broken it out to go find out what's going on. But that's another one of those for winter time repair.
yeah, I've got one of those too. I've got I've got a locomotive in which the sound went out on me, and so I got to figure out is it the speaker, and I've tried
Mm.
resetting the decoder and stuff, and I know the let's see, is that the one? No, that wasn't. I've been doing some other stuff. I thought I may put it in a different locomotive, but no, I haven't taken the locomotive apart yet.
So anyway, that's where I'm at currently. No big questions, no big bugs. Just we've got one more weekend this weekend of public display at our club, and then actually there's this has been the standard displays. We've got, I think there's a couple more, but I don't have to bring any extra equipment. There is an open house one that I might bring, but they said that like the Halloween one, just run the club equipment, and I'm going, yep, no problem. That's less for me to have to worry about to bring.
Yep.
Um, oh, that's a great one for you, Rodney. Yeah, yeah, you're gonna love this. So the layout has been under construction for about 30, 35 years. And so now it's at level X. We'll just call it X. No blocks, using which DCC? It's white. Digitrax. It's using Digitrax, DCC. It's got a switch that will switch it over to DC or DCC. And I brought up the point that he's got 4 sub panels for switches. I almost want to tell him it needs to go to 1 sub panel or 1 panel of main line and 1 sub panel for the different yards. Or maybe I'll live with 2 sub panels for the different yards. The whole issue is that um, there's no blocks. It's all one loop. What I call it is a folded dog bone on itself. It's a twice around. Um, and I told him I'm not asking to upgrade to computer and JMRI, but just block detection first. And then we can work on going towards cats, and display panel and all. Would you include the yards at that point?
No, no, I wouldn't
Stay
even.
with mainline.
Yeah, just the main line. Dispatcher doesn't care about what's going on in the yards.
Now, like in my dad's, granite and whatever, it's got a little mini yard.
Yep.
I plan on still block detecting those yards. I don't know why, just because. What's 3 extra LEDs?
Yeah.
But I mean, would you add cats to those little yards, or
Nah,
a couple spurs or whatever?
nope.
Wait a second. The spur comes off the main line though.
Yeah, that's okay, but um, you can if you want, but typically you don't. All the
Don't
dispatching
required.
not required.
Right. But if I want to automate through cats, yes, I should, or I don't
Well,
know.
okay. Well, first of all,
Go ahead.
CAT says do automation, so you'd have to automate through Jam or I.
Okay.
Um, so yeah, I don't know what it depends, I guess, a little bit on what your spurs are used for and stuff. But again, typically the prototype doesn't detect spurs on a dispatcher panel. In fact, sometimes they don't even show spurs. I know of a couple. I've seen a couple of panels, and I know the routes, and there's
You
some
get the
spurs, and they don't even show up on the panel.
do you get the switch for the spur, but not the spur itself?
Yeah, you probably get the switch, but in some of those cases they don't even have the switch.
Oh,
A lot of it depends upon the railroad.
okay, okay. I guess a lot of it depends upon railroad operations too.
Yeah,
For hey, you're a little short line or whatever, or you're an industry, and here comes your industrial pickup or delivery, and so yeah, they may or may not care about what that switch is doing or not doing.
yeah.
Right. Okay.
Well,
So they just.
typically again, what the rules are that
Mhm.
if you've got, say, a spur off the main line, that the least that when the spur is not set for the main line, that it knocks the signals down, even if it doesn't show up on the panel. That tends to
Oh,
be
okay.
a
Okay.
federal
Mhm.
type thing.
Right. I do understand that.
Okay, and so typically the cheap way of doing things is just put a resistor across the frog and the diverging route. And so consequently, whenever the switch is thrown for the spur, then you get automatic detection on the main.
Right. Okay. What size resistor, just for grins?
Probably a good size one like 10K or
Okay.
something like that.
Okay. Okay. I understand. Yeah, because we're using 1Ks, for instance, on LEDs, and I forget, I thought it was 10K across wheels for detection, so it should still be the same then, a
Sure.
10K over there. All
Yep.
right.
Yep. So whatever you're using for wheels would work for detecting the position of the turnout.
Of the frog turnout, yes. Okay. All right. That makes sense. And then you just run that data back to JMRI over to cats to tell cats that signal's not going to be good, I assume.
Yeah. So what'll happen then is when you throw the turnout, it doesn't matter if there's anything on the main line or not. It's going to look like the main line is occupied. And if the main line's occupied, then the signals automatically drop to red.
Gotcha. 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 Makes total sense.
And
Total sense.
yeah, and what works out nicely then is if you've got somebody who works the spur and he leaves town, so to speak, and he forgets to throw the switch back,
No comment. No, 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 no. That's how I burned up my RDC.
yep, then the signal will drop to red, and the dispatch will say, "Hey, are you still there? Did you leave a car or something on on the main at that?"
You can tell I'm laughing because I didn't want to yell and scream. He was a kid. He was a junior member. Actually, I had two of them that night, and I said, did you guys throw that switch back? Oh yeah, yeah, we did. I'm moving along. I didn't even look at the display panel. I'm moving along and finally hit the switch, and then I'm not moving anymore. It was a pair of RDCs, and the RDC behind's trying to shove it through,
Mm.
and it's not going. It's not going, and so I go over and back them up, flip the switch, and the front RDC doesn't move. You know what they use for a fuse in Walther's Proto 1000? the track pickup wire. Burned the
Okay.
wire out.
Well, that's cheaper than burning up the truck.
Yeah, that's true. It's true. And the decoder and everything else
Yep.
just annoyed me. Just annoyed me because I had to go back and find out that it was a burned wire, and I was really worried it was a burned decoder. That in that decoder itself, it was only like a $20 decoder, but it was the 2 weeks to get it. That was my biggest thing.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, okay, that's a great viewpoint for doing that. That will help solve a few problems. That if you're going to, I'm looking at it for that club layout alone, let alone my dad's Spurs. I think there's only two of them, and three. There's three little Spurs. One doesn't even go to an industry. I think it's for a turntable of all things. But you have the option of putting in the turntable or not. And then there's one industry spur, and then the little yard spur, the mini yard. I don't think there's any other spurs on it. I think that's it. And so, but it would be definitely helpful to know what the condition of those mini yards are on that club layout or setting, so that way I know whether I can advance a train through the main or not. See, we even answered the questions here.
Yep.
No, that's a good one. That was a good one, Rob. And that also helps me promote the club and moving it towards a single dispatch panel. Or I really want it just as display, mainly for the public, so that way they could see where trains are on the layout, and the interactiveness. You know what I'm kind of saying? The theatrical internet activeness.
Mm-hmm.
And that was my main purpose for it. But I could see it for also safety of the trains themselves, to know when you've got a switch foul ahead of you that nobody's telling you about. And then whether we wanted to go to dispatcher to operator level, that can move up later. You know what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
It's like, what do you want to chew off first? Like you were saying, what's your level for going up there? Start off small and get to the big end. So initially for me, it was just a display panel, a hard LED display panel. Um, I wasn't looking at flipping switches off of that panel, but there is some discussion that could happen or would happen, and then we could move it towards JMRI cats at that point to make it more um, computerized. That way, we could leave the main panel out in the middle for the public, and we could be off to the side with a computer and do our dispatching if we wanted to.
Sure.
Engineers should see the panel so that way they know where they're at. I'm not saying that panel also just being LED is going to tell you whose train is where, but definitely off the computer you could find out if you get it coded. Okay, it's a process.
Yep.
We don't know if the whole key of this, we don't know if we're going to keep this layout. It's 35 years old. trying to do service in the middle of the layout is you've got to get out two giant ladders. Those are the little giant ladders. Once you cup up and over the come up over the layout, and then put a piece of plywood between it.
Yeah, well, if you guys are going to start putting blocks in, you're going to be starting to cut the layout anyway.
Yeah, I mean, if we're going to, upgrade to a new layout, then we might as well, and put blocks in and all, then we might as well do it right. So that's what we have to find out, because either way we need the display, and we need JMRI/CATS to do this.
Yeah, that makes a really nice presentation, because there was a division of the NMRA, the hub division up in the Northeast, and they've got a modular layout that they would take to shows, and they're running cats on it. They have a couple of big, I think they're 42-inch LED monitors that they put up
Mm-hmm.
cats display, and where all the trains are and who's got signals and stuff like that. It's really impressive.
Oops, sounds like they're starting their question and answer period. I gotta love my computer. It shuts off the screen. Rodney, did I lose you?
Nope, I'm still here.
Oh, it's just my screen changed. We lost where it was over there.
Yeah, we lost. Yeah, Dennis was.
Dennis, yeah.
Yeah,
Okay. Well, they're talking Blue Nominee right now, and that wasn't mine. That was actually just before mine. So mine's coming up right now. Quick, flip over to Atherton YouTube. Oh, come on. Where'd it go? That's what happens when you hit a button. Well, he's done two Blue Nominees. I don't know where the other Blue Nominee question came in. But
Well, Ray, it sounds like not much going on, so I think I'm going to leave. It's about mealtime around here, and maybe we'll see you next month.
Hang on for a second. Let me put them back in mute. What was that, Rodney?
Yeah, I'm saying I don't see much happening here, so I think I'm going to sign off, and
Okay.
maybe we'll see you next month.
Yeah. And I'll hopefully have some interesting cats news.
Okay.
Hopefully. We'll let you know.
Okay.
Hey, good talking with you. Take care.
Bye.
Bye bye.